April the 26th, 1986. Reactor 4 of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant explodes. A planned test to shut down a turbine went horribly wrong. The emergency shutdown system failed. A nuclear chain reaction ignited the reactor. Large amounts of deadly radioactive dust contaminated areas of Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia. The radiation spread as far away as France, Britain, and Scandinavia. 2 decades later, the reactor sits at the center of a 30-kilometer exclusion zone. The concrete sarcophagus was built to contain the radiation, but today the destroyed reactor is still highly dangerous.
It shows it's about 740 microen per hour, which is about 40 times higher than natural level. That's why it's alarm. So it's very dangerous to live with such level of radioactivity.
A few kilometers away from the ruined reactor, the city of Pripyat remains deserted. Around 40,000 nuclear engineers and their families once occupied these apartment blocks, shopping centers, and amusement parks. The city is still too radioactive to be habitable. 20 years on, toys remain scattered on the school floor. Given only a few minutes to evacuate, the children had no time to take reminders of happier times. Vladimir is suffering from chronic heart disease since he went to Chernobyl 20 years ago. He and his teammates helped evacuate the residents.
Нас було 32 чоловіка. Посчитав, що ми їздили, то стало 4. Такі були славні хлопці, друзі. Я нема поховав всіх.
In 2005, the United Nations reported that the contaminated areas do not pose a substantial threat to human health. The report stated that a total of up to 4,000 people could eventually die of radiation exposure from Chernobyl. It claimed that fewer than 50 deaths had been directly attributed to radiation from the disaster. They also found no significant evidence to link the suffering of the local population to the nuclear explosion. Many experts who provided data to the UN's Chernobyl Forum disagree. Ukrainian demography expert Professor Nikolai Omlyanets says that in Ukraine alone, birth rates in the contaminated areas are still falling. The incidence of premature death is rising. He blames the UN report for ignoring data provided by many former Soviet scientists.
Непонятно, почему данные заканчиваются 2000 годом, и мы считаем, что они не отражают ситуацию, которая была после этого. Ну, например, в Украине зарегистрировано с 1989 по 2004 год более 3600 случаев рака щитовидной железы у лиц, которые были детьми на момент аварии.
The most recent epidemiological study suggests that up to 200,000 people in the 3 most contaminated countries have died in the past 15 years. The study links these deaths to the 1986 disaster. They say children living in the contaminated areas are most vulnerable to radiation. They accumulate radiation in their bodies by eating locally grown food and dairy products.
Говоря, подводя итоги 20-летних наблюдений за состоянием здоровья их детей, следует сказать, что состояние здоровья детей остается очень низким. Оно значительно ухудшилось в первые послеаварийные годы, и этот низкий уровень сохраняется до настоящего времени.
In the Ivankovsky region, where statues of Lenin still feature, scientists regularly check radiation levels.
Значит, в данный момент мы исследуем мясо дикого животного, которое было убито на территории Иванковского района. Это мясо превышает допустимые уровни при норме, это не норма, при допустимом уровне 200 беккерелей на килограмм. Мы имеем 318 беккерелей по цезию 137.
И как широка эта проблема?
Да, действительно, проблема существует, и продукты питания, которые выращены на наших территориях, могут быть, конечно, загрязнены.
Former Chernobyl engineers like Vladimir Usatenko know very well how dangerous the path to nuclear energy really is. He was here 20 years ago when he helped build the sarcophagus. He now reports to the Ukrainian government as a nuclear expert. But he condemns the world's nuclear industry for ignoring the lessons of Chernobyl.
Это очень конкретно, только потому, что мы уже получили один объект, который не стал ни для кого уроком. Кстати, то, что вы видите за моей спиной, это самый большой успех за все время существования ядерной энергетики. То есть создали видимость локализации аварии. Хотя авария, по сути, не локализована, авария, по сути, не ликвидирована. И мы просто перешли в перманентную катастрофу, в состояние перманентной катастрофы, которая все больше и больше задевает.
Like Anastasia, thousands of people born after the disaster suffer from the consequences of the Chernobyl catastrophe. Her aunt is worried that Anastasia could die from cancer, like many other children from the contaminated areas. Because of the radiation, a wound on her hand hasn't healed for a long time. 20 years is not enough to heal the effects of the disaster. Chernobyl remains an open wound that will blight many generations to come.